Thank you, Mr. Deputy Presiding Officer, for allowing me the opportunity to contribute to this debate. Mr. Deputy Presiding Officer, I rise in full and unwavering support to this motion before this Honourable House, calling into question this very troubling pattern of unanswered question in the House. And Mr. Deputy Presiding Officer, the member who just spoke comes to the House time and time again and speak about respect and being respectful. But this member is oftentimes the culprit of being most disrespectful and saying the most disrespectful and disparaging things in the House. So, Mr. Deputy Presiding Officer, I would encourage the member to practice what he preaches. The member also spoke to the fact that there's a place that we should, which is the Standing Orders Committee, that these matters should be discussed, and the whole issue of politicizing, and again saying that the minority leader is being untruthful. But Mr. Deputy Presiding Officer, there are questions on the order paper for more than 2 years that have been unanswered. And thankfully, the minority leader would have presented a motion that although the member for Bakalet is not here, a written response came. And when we did the research, Mr. Deputy Presiding Officer, so this response came while we are sitting, going to debate a motion for answers, written questions that are not answered. And there's a question here. This is question number 114 to the Secretary in the Division of Food Production. And the question was about listing farmers and agricultural areas disaggregated by village, type of produce, and the quantity of produce annually. So, Mr. Deputy Presiding Officer, this question 114, based on the research, was filed and appeared on the order paper at the 28th sitting. The 28th sitting was the 22nd of March, 2024. It's more than a year later. We are in April of 2025. And you know what was the response to this question, Mr. Deputy Presiding Officer? To respond to this question, and this is a question to the Division of Food Production asking about a list of farmers, the areas of agriculture disaggregated by village, type of produce, and the quantity produced. The Secretary in her response said more than a year later that the Division of Food Security, Natural Resources, the Environment and Sustainable Development would need to commission an entire survey to respond to this question. Mr. Deputy Presiding Officer, more than a year later, this is the response that is coming. I want to go further, Mr. Deputy Presiding Officer. Another question was asked, and again, more than a year later. Question number 236 appeared on the order paper on the 33rd sitting, and this is, question number 232 appeared on the order paper on the 29th sitting, and this was the 25th of April, 2024, basically asking about listing some list of ACH checks by departments and by suppliers. Again, the member said that she can't respond to that question. We have another question asking about the whole issue of the shark attack and the bounty, whether or not she was consulted And did the secretary approve the shark attack bounty? You know what was the response to the question? Taxpayers' money was not sent. The bounty was recalled, therefore no bounty existed. Mr. Deputy Presiding Officer, the question was whether or not the secretary was consulted before the issuance of the bounty of $10,000 issued on the 26th of April 2024. So, Mr. Deputy Presiding Officer, it is important, and these discussions continue to circulate in the public domain. And as the minority leader explained, the questions are not just questions by the minority, but these are questions that are filed on behalf of the people. The people come to us, the people talk, the people express how they feel about certain issues, and they need questions answered, and as a result, we file these questions. So, Mr. Deputy Presiding Officer, for the member to come and speak about there's a place, which is the Standing Orders Committee, that this motion should have gone to, Mr. Deputy Presiding Officer. I don't think we need a Standing Orders Committee for members opposite to be accountable and transparent. We don't need a Standing Orders Committee to say when questions are filed, you don't need to take 2 and 3 years to answer them, Mr. Deputy Presiding Officer. They promise accountability, they promise transparency, they promise good governance, they promise to fix it. So, Mr. Deputy Presiding Officer, for the member to come and talk about the P&M government were culprits. The people dealt with the P&M government. The people, you portrayed yourselves as being able to fix things and to do things better. So the reason for not answering questions ought not to be that the P&M did it, so you come in to do it worse than them. You said that you will fix it. So when questions are filed, when there's a time for you to be accountable and transparent, no Standing Orders Committee, no member opposite should have to cajole you to be accountable. And Mr. Deputy Presiding Officer, it is very upsetting that there is some justification being given to not respond to questions in a timely manner. And we see a precedent being set in this chamber year after year, sitting after sitting, that when members are not prepared to answer the hard questions, when members opposite are not prepared to be accountable and transparent, they stay away from the sitting. And it is clear evidence today, Mr. Deputy Presiding Officer, none of the questions filed by the minority councillor were able to be addressed or answered today. And these are questions that came forward from previous sittings, Mr. Deputy Presiding Officer. So, Mr. Deputy Presiding Officer, we need those who said that they could govern and they could fix it to do better. And, Mr. Deputy Presiding Officer, democracy that we all strive to achieve, democracy that we try to uphold in this house, cannot thrive in darkness. Oversight cannot exist without information. When questions go unanswered, accountability is eroded. And when accountability is eroded, Mr. Deputy Presiding Officer, trust collapse. And yes, I want to go back to the point about having a place. Mr. Deputy Presiding Officer, we have seen since this administration has come into office, the channels that should be used to action several things, those channels are not operating well, because we see suppliers who provide services for different departments in the THA those suppliers would submit their invoices and have to wait a very long time to be paid. And the place that they go to get their issues resolved is social media. We saw a lady singing because she wasn't paid for heritage. Isn't there a mechanism where services rendered by suppliers that they should be paid? But because, Madam Presiding Officer, Mr. Deputy Presiding Officer, that is not working efficiently, it gives rise to people doing all unconventional things for their voices to be heard, one of which is to go on social media and name and shame. And the minority leader indicated if we did not, or if the minority did not go in the public domain and speak about oral questions not being answered, then we would have had a similar situation, because we have oral questions on the order paper appearing month after month, year after year, and not being answered. And it's not until this matter was taken in the public domain that we saw some improvement. So the public, the minority, everybody recognizes that you really have to call out this administration for them to do what is required and what is right. And Mr. Deputy Presiding Officer, I want to highlight just a few other questions, because it's important that the people of Tobago get some level of accountability and transparency. So, Mr. Deputy Presiding Officer, we would have had an issue where we asked the question to the Secretary of Infrastructure relating to rent and lease, the rent and lease program. And there were several parts to the question. We asked about the companies engaged in the program, the list of tools and vehicles and equipment provided, the value of each rental service, the total outstanding to each supplier, and what payments were made to the suppliers to date. And Mr. Deputy Presiding Officer, we asked those questions again because we saw a trend in the increase of rent and lease in the Tobago House of Assembly, and in particular in that division. So we wanted to know exactly what is causing this increase. And to me, this is public funds. This is funds, this is my taxpayer, your taxpayer, the public taxpayers' funds that are being spent. And by right, the people should know what their taxpayers' dollars are being spent on. Today, we have had no response to that question, Mr. Deputy Presiding Officer. We also, again, in an attempt to hold the administration and the Secretary of Tourism accountable, who is again absent today, if we go back to January 4th, when the Secretary came into office, there was a Daily Express headline which read, "Getting back to 100,000 foreign tourists, new THA Tourism Secretary's goal." And Madam Presiding Officer, the Secretary spoke that coming out of COVID, her aim is to return to 100,000 international visitors. She also went on, the article also went on to report the Secretary as indicating that there will be a resumption in international flights from January 10th, including a return to British Airways followed by KLM. So in an attempt to keep the administration accountable, this responsible minority asked the question, can the Secretary indicate the monthly number of international arrivals disaggregated by carrier and port of departure to Tobago for the period January 2022 to September 2023? Mr. Deputy Presiding Officer, this question again remains unanswered. And the list goes on and on and on. So, Mr. Deputy Presiding Officer, we are calling for a change in the way that the members opposite treat with written questions. And we cannot continue to do business like this. And as the minority leader would have made some recommendations, I want to also agree with those recommendations that all written questions currently on the order paper should have a response within 21 days of this sitting or no later than 2 sittings after the submission of the question. And Mr. Deputy Presiding Officer, the minority is required to file questions 21 days in advance. There's sufficient time, Mr. Deputy Presiding Officer, for the questions to be appropriately addressed and responded to. So, Mr. Deputy Presiding Officer, we are asking and we are calling on the secretaries in the various divisions to not continue to erode the public trust. And in closing, Mr. Deputy Presiding Officer, the member who spoke, the member for Petal-ann Newgrange, again spoke to this whole issue of politicking and politicization of the motion. But the facts remain that there are questions on the order paper that remain unanswered for more than 2 years. And the motion is about governance versus dysfunction. It's about transparency versus secrecy. And it's about the people of Tobago versus the wall of silence based on the questions that remain unanswered on the order paper. And we are all here to serve the people and not hide from the people, to answer and not to deflect, and to be held accountable and not to be immune. So in conclusion, Mr. Deputy Presiding Officer, I support this motion and I urge members opposite and this House to do the same, because when the questions go unanswered, the people remain unheard, and we cannot allow this to continue. So, Mr. Deputy Presiding Officer, I thank you for the opportunity to contribute to this debate.